Michaela, you know Greta personally.
We've met at a few different events. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, so you were part of one of those young people as well. Were you inspired by her?
I think I definitely was inspired by Greta. I mean, almost any young person who's come up in climate recently. But I think I was also inspired by so many other activists who maybe don't get as much of a spotlight.
Well, that's something I want to talk about with you, because she does have the spotlight.
Yeah.
And some are wondering whether it should all be focused on her. How do you understand her role in the spotlight, and whether it's been a help or a hindrance for the movement over the past 5 years?
I think she's been an incredible leader of our movement. I'm really grateful for the work that she's done, and I think she's carried that with so much grace. But at the same time, I think it's important for us to recognise that she was chosen by the media to be the face of the climate movement over kind of Indigenous youth who've been chaining themselves to pipelines for generations. People like Esneda Saavedra Respeto, who is an Indigenous climate leader who, since she was 13 years old, she's in her 40s now, has been taking action that has been challenging corporate interests of companies like Glencore, who are literally causing kind of genocide of her people in Colombia. And so I think it's important to recognise who gets the spotlight, and maybe it's because some people seem less challenging to corporate interests or to like the systems at play. So I think it's important for us to realise that there are other people who maybe weren't chosen as well.
What about that, Fiona?
I think it's absolutely right that we do need to have more voices in this, and we need to have voices from all over the world, from Indigenous people, as you say, and the South.
But also that Greta suited the media. I'm paraphrasing you, Michaela.
Greta came along at an important time, and she's a very striking person. You know, she's got real charisma, and the way that she speaks, she's unflappable. She sticks to the facts, you know, and she's speaks so clearly and forcefully. She really is a fantastic spokesperson.
What do you think, Michaela, concrete change that she achieved?
I mean, getting climate is a thing that's talked about so often and everywhere, and the thousands and millions of actually young people who've been mobilised into this movement all over the world. I think that's been a huge, huge win. In the fact that we now talk about climate as like a climate emergency, I think a lot of that came from a spark that was lit and that she was part of. I think that also came from the fact that when she was put into the public eye, that was around the similar time when one of the big IPCC reports came out. So this big report that on the climate crisis and the science. So I think she's done a huge amount to mobilise young people around the world, and to show also that like no one is too small to make a difference, which is something that she talks about.
Because it was a solo protest where she started. What about, Fiona, some of the people she's been with? I mean, even of late, really, I suppose, recently Donald Trump, for example, or if we talk about Andrew Tate. What do you think that does?